darlings, welcome back to my channel. It's me again. The ring light is so bright today. I'm just like, woohoo! Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Make sure you sub and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. I'm really excited about today's video because it's an absolutely insane, just like really detailed video of these like strange things that are going on in the Lux world right now. So make sure you keep watching the entire video. I can't wait to talk to you about the stuff that we're going to discuss. So tons of luxury brands, to be blunt, are going bankrupt, are being put into liquidation, are going into administration. It's completely insane, the amount of luxury brands that are basically losing their businesses at the moment. So there is this kind of feeling like, why is this happening right now? And it is because of C19, but not really. And trust me, I'm tired of hearing about C19 all the time. So the first one we're going to talk about is Escada. For those of you who are really into like the 90s luxe scene, Escada was a huge brand in the 90s. Diana, Princess of Wales, wore Escada. Kim Basinger, Naomi Campbell, tons of female celebs have worn the brand. And it's one of the only like major luxury brands that ever came from Germany. I know this sounds strange. I mean, Germany is known, obviously you have like Hugo Boss and things like that, but Germany is really known for like incredible like automotive engineering excellence. Like that is what Germany is known for. So it's amazing that this brand did come out of Germany. I think it was developed in Munich and it was really successful, particularly in the 80s and 90s. It was started by a husband and wife couple called Margareta and Wolfgang Ley. Sadly, when she passed away, that's when things got tense for the brand. Long story short, it was sold to the daughter-in-law of Lakshmi Mittal, who is a like Indian billionaire, and then she sold it to his private equity company. And since then, it's just been having tons of problems. It's been struggling financially. It's been struggling in all types of senses. There are issues with like supply chain and people going to stores to buy stuff. And basically they declared bankruptcy recently. One of the biggest issues with like a brand like Escada, and I think this is similar to what happened to Roland Mouret and Christian Lacroix, is that you have a lot of goodwill before, like maybe a decade ago, you know, you were hot, you know, stuff and you had all this goodwill, but then continuing that goodwill is really hard, especially without like a really like hot designer, like say like Galliano, you know, like what Galliano did at Dior and now what he's doing at Margiela. So I feel like with Escada, it was really sad because they all those like really cool 90s looks that Thierry Mugler was famous for, that like 90s aesthetic, you know, you see on Tumblr and, you know, Instagram with Linda Evangelista and Naomi Campbell. Escada is responsible for a lot of those looks. But I think the problem is like, it's just so hard. I don't think, and this isn't about fashion or trends, I don't think people understand like how hard it is to like run a successful business that year on year is constantly making money, is constantly successful. I mean, it is so hard. And now imagine at that level where you have tons of boutiques, you have tons of stores, you have tons of employees, everyone has to be paid their salary. It's really difficult to run a very successful business, and that's the bottom line. And it's particularly difficult in fashion where like style is constantly changing, products are constantly changing. Apparel is so difficult. If any of you are watching this video because you're interested in why they went bankrupt, I'm going to be talking about those reasons. As I said, don't start a clothing brand. It is absolute terror and it is horrifying for lots of entrepreneurs. And I think a lot of people think like they have like a good eye for fashion, or I have an eye for this, I have an eye for that. That is not the same as buying inventory, looking at all of your dead stock. That's like a retail term for stock that people aren't buying. Markdowns, selling wholesale. That stuff is not as glamorous as talking about, oh, I'm going to have Naomi Campbell on the catwalk for my show. So Escada basically this year filed for bankruptcy. The business is going into administration. I think their stores in Germany are still open, but they're winding things down. It's a super sad end to a brand that actually did mean something, and it did actually see quite a bit of success. But I think it's also an example of what happens when you're not necessarily you're not moving with the times, but it's like, what does your brand mean today? Okay, 1992, your brand was lit. yeah, all that stuff was happening. But what does it mean in 2020? What does it mean in 2022? And I think this is why brands like Chanel are so successful, and brands like Hermes are so successful. To be honest with you, I don't think most people could. I think, is Jean-Paul Gaultier still at Hermes, or am I tripping, or is he never there? I don't even know who the like creative director of Hermes is at the moment. And I think that's also part of the beauty of Hermes and why it's so successful. Same thing with Chanel. I mean, obviously Virginie Viard is, you know, the lead women's wear and accessories person for Chanel, and she is obviously the lead designer. But Virginie definitely has a way more like stripped back public profile compared to Karl Lagerfeld. Like, she's not really doing 500 million interviews. She doesn't have that monochrome look. She doesn't have like a trademark look that people know her for. And I think Chanel, and maybe the powers that be at Chanel, made that decision on purpose because they don't want anyone to like overshadow the brand. So Escada going into bankruptcy, you know, it's not really a surprise because it's like there's so much competition now, especially online, for the hearts and minds of, you know, luxury shoppers and people who are just shopping in general. So it's like, why do I need to buy at Escada? Yes, you were lit in the 90s, but what about today? It's sad though, because they really did achieve a lot. I'm curious to see what's going to go on. Normally in some of these bankruptcy proceedings, a company can file for bankruptcy, but they keep trading. So it seems like that's what they're doing at the moment. And then the next one that I heard about was de GRISOGONO. I actually checked that online to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. But to make it easy, let's just call it DG for now. But yes, it's de GRISOGONO, which was obviously a Swiss luxury jeweler. They had quite a bit of a run for a while a few years ago. I remember seeing Kim Kardashian West wearing some of their jewelry. They had some really interesting pieces that I personally really liked. It was very flamboyant, huge cocktail rings, massive necklaces. You know, if you like dainty jewelry, you probably wouldn't have liked DG, but de GRISOGONO definitely, I think they definitely had like a client base and a look basically. So they went through something strange. Like this year, they also closed down, declared bankruptcy. But they're tied to Isabel dos Santos, who is the richest woman in Africa. She's a billionaire from Angola. Her husband purchased, I think, her husband and like one of the state like mining companies in Angola inadvertently purchased a controlling interest in de GRISOGONO. And it's like, there's definitely like a pile of like corruption and all these weird vested interests that happen. So basically, essentially from what I've done and all my research, it seems that Isabel dos Santos and her now late husband, who died in a freak accident like 2 weeks ago, that many people in Angolan media are like, this is weird. Her and her now late husband, they purchased shares of de GRISOGONO, and they also used an Angolan state mining firm to purchase those shares. So the Angolan government inadvertently, through Isabel dos Santos when she was still working in the Angolan government, purchased like a massive chunk of shares, and I believe the majority shares in de GRISOGONO. So there was like this weird like shareholding structure for the company was very murky, very seedy, very shady. A lot of people didn't understand what was going on and why this like Angolan state diamond firm, why did they have shares in like a luxury jeweler in Switzerland? That made no sense. Anywho, so the company has also gone bankrupt. It was just needed so much money. They were buying all of these massive stones. Things weren't really working out. They were constantly buying gems, but they weren't selling that much basically, which as we know, it all boils down to that. So that was really interesting. And obviously because I'm African and I live in Tanzania, when I heard that Isabel dos Santos was involved, I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. So when her and her now late husband, Sindika Dokolo, who is originally from the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, when they had their controlling stake of de GRISOGONO, they would go to these like luxurious parties in Geneva and Monaco, the French Riviera, promoting the brand. They were definitely living this like super high luxurious life. But the Angolan government are claiming that they used Angolan's money from that state diamond firm to purchase de GRISOGONO. So it's very shady, it's very murky. So the second lesson we're learning here is that luxury brands can absolutely go bankrupt if they don't have a proper way of knowing like where's the money coming from to like build my brand, where's the money coming from to grow my brand, for example. And the money I'm getting from my investor, is it coming from the right place? So that was like super, super weird, very, very, very shady as well. Another one which I heard of, there's so many bankruptcies, but this will be the last example for the video because there are other things I want to talk about, is Manish Arora, who is one of the biggest names ever from India to come from fashion. Like, he's one of the biggest Indian fashion names ever. His brand, which he started in 2001, has gone into administration. Employees in India have been let go, have been made redundant. His friend, who he started the business with in 2001, he like abruptly left the business this year. And that's always a bad sign when the operations person, who's like a close friend, ends up leaving the business. And Manish Arora, I think he talked to the New York Times, and he said how he was sad, but you know, they just couldn't keep the business going and it couldn't keep making money. It was struggling. It wasn't getting that much coverage in department stores. And then when it did get coverage in department stores, it was being marked down significantly, which obviously crushes the back end for the designer. So a lot of these stories are very sad, but they point to one massive issue that I think a lot of luxury brands are going to continue to experience. It's not just C19. Luxury brands need to know, why am I selling my products for a horrific amount of money? And who is going to continuously purchase these products? Just answer that question and you can start your own luxury brand today, and people will continuously buy it and buy it and buy it and buy it. And that is big facts, okay? Chanel know how to answer this question, okay? Chanel are irritating, annoying, but they know who their customer is, and they're constantly creating new products, new styles that people want to buy. It's that simple. Same thing with Hermes. Same thing with my personal favorite, Cartier. Same thing with Goyard, Bulgari, Bottega Veneta, and all of these luxury brands. Even the sort of newer brands that are on the scene, like this brand I heard of called Mateo, which is doing really well. There are lots of new brands on the scene. Even Self Portrait, that's one of my favorite luxury labels. The designer of Self Portrait, he makes absolutely stunning dresses. You have to know why you're doing business, and you have to know why you're charging a horrific amount of money. Creating demand and creating desire is something which obviously all of us who work in marketing, if you work in marketing, you know that this is your job every day. Why should someone buy something? If you can't convince me, or perhaps you who's watching the video, why you should buy an Escada dress, the business is not going to make money. But I do think that there are other issues at hand here, which I think for you guys, if you love luxury brands, you love luxury shopping, you should know the amount of money it takes to actually stage these like really expensive catwalk shows. They're horrifically expensive. Raw materials, clothing, in the case of fashion, or jewelry, diamonds, etc. They are expensive. There's so much money that is spent in acquiring the raw materials in order to do these businesses. And ultimately, I think for a lot of these brands, definitely in Escada's case, the costs are just too high. The customer base isn't there. So it's not worth, carrying on basically. And it's really sad because you lose that like diversity in the luxury market. I'm always saying this on this channel that for me, I really actually like looking at different brands. I talk about Cartier a lot on this channel, but one of my other favorite jewelry brands is this brand called Boucheron. They're on Farfetch. They have their own boutiques as well. They're another very famous jewelry house. We need to have that diversity. We need to have other brands around. That's what makes beauty, lifestyle, and fashion interesting. It can't just be Supreme all day. It can't just be Chanel all day, or Hermes all day, or Vuitton all day. It has to be a wide variety. But these brands can't succeed if it's just too difficult financially. And eventually, it always boils down to the money. It's always about the money all of the time. Luxury brands are going to continue to struggle if they don't have a point of view, and if they cannot do things in a way that is financially affordable. And the way I see how things are going, definitely the next year, 2021, and even 2022, I think we're going to continue to see a lot of luxury brands closing down. So I think my suggestion, if you are someone who loves fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and luxury, and you want to do your own thing, but have a point of view and convince people to buy into not just you and what your brand is, but convince people to buy into what does it stand for today, what does it stand for tomorrow, and what does it stand for next next year. I think all three of those brands, as unique and incredible as each was, to be fair, Manish Arora is a huge, huge name in India. And I was really shocked to hear that his brand has closed down. But it has to constantly make sense for the future as well. Guess what, you guys? It's the end of the video. I really want to know what you guys think. Why do you think luxury brands are struggling right now? And don't talk about C19. Let's talk about other reasons, because there are tons of other reasons. I really think that the financial side isn't something to be laughed at. Running a bricks and mortar business that has a lot of like raw materials that you constantly need to pay for, it's horrifically expensive, and that's big facts. So I am not surprised to see that a lot of these brands are just deciding to throw in the towel. I'm curious to know what you think. How do you feel like this affects how the luxury brand industry is? Are you tired of seeing like the big 6 luxury brands or whatever? Or do you want to see more diversity, or do you not care? You just buy what you like? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video.